Welcome and hello and welcome and hello and welcome and hello. Thank you for joining me on this very special Insomniac edition of Un Poco Mas, the show where we give you just a little bit more, guys. I'm sure no one is really awake right now to watch this absolute piece of crap show, but I know a lot of you guys got hurt during the IOVA earnings here. This little waterfall, this shot off a cliff. Stock went from was approaching earnings pre-market about $2.60. Initially fell down to $1.72, recovered back to 2.20, fell all the way back down to about $1.65, and then made sort of this steady march back up to 2.20, and the algo settled back in at about 2.10. Yeah, sorry, DVD. I just have had absolutely no time to get on and talk about this stock, and I know people wanted some answers. They wanted Danny's scalp, or wanted my head on a platter or whatever. What's up, Clap My Dog? How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome and hello. By the way, it is un poco mas. I don't know if you can hear me. People are asleep, so I'm trying to be as quiet as possible. What happened? How bad was the ER, or was this sort of more of a setup? I'm going to make a couple observations about the chart, about sort of where things are, what management said, what we can expect for the rest of the year, and sort of, where things are going. It is, I think, a bit telling that the stock dropped all the way down to $1.65 and then just immediately recovered back to 2.10. I mean, that's not a sign of an organic sell-off. That's a sign exactly like SMCI that, they pretty much knew what the earnings report was going to say, and they had a reaction pre-programmed in. Their algorithms were just going to absolutely obliterate the stock no matter what. And heavily shorted like SMCI. The difference in this stock is there, hasn't been much liquidity in it. Very, very high institutional ownership, but I don't, think they're in any rush. I think definitely the shorts have been in control of the stock completely since about the $10 range. But in any case, heavy volume, heavy drop, and then I believe the rest of the day was a lot of accumulation. This is it's a very, very curious chart. If you look back here to the last quarter's earnings, which were on May 9th, you see the stock come in at about, it's being held sort of at this area, $3.15, $3.20. It falls down to a low of, lo and behold, no pun intended, the low, and I'm just eyeballing this, it's about $1.67, $1.66. Now, what did we see pre-market? Low was about $1.65, $1.66. So it's the exact same absolute low. And then what do you see that the stock is just algo held here from, early May all the way for basically exactly a month, right here at this exact same level. Comes up a little bit, and then they algo hold it at the exact same level again. And then there's this pump, and then there's this huge, dump. It's just not really a dump. This is an algo walk down. You see how there's, a lot more green volume coming in than red volume coming out. I mean, look at this buying. I mean, you see 49 million volume, and then you see 110 million volume, and then as the stock just falls off a cliff, the volume, comes way down, but you see dramatic decreases in price. I mean, I believe this is price fixing. And then you see this final candle just falls perfectly into this channel with this walk down again. Now, you had a little excitement, pre-ER that caused the stock just to pop slightly, but the algo locked right back on it. And, lo and behold, where does the stock drop? Right to this same level again. I mean, pretty much. It's where, it was where this initial drop happened on this, and then it came down lower and closed a bit lower. But you can see this is not coincidence. It's the exact same thing, the exact same shock and on. Actually, this ER, I think, was a substantial improvement over, the last ER. Instead of 83 patients, they treated 102. They had a lot of treatment centers come online. I think I think the EU thing is a little bit overblown because a lot of people are under the impression they had to withdraw their EU application and then they're going to have to go back and do more clinical trials or something, which is actually not the case. They just have to resubmit and with an additional analysis of some data and some trial data that already exists. Now, a huge concern in terms of the ER is the cash burn rate. So, and if you go back even further, guys, and we've talked about this before. This was being algo held here about $10, and then they just walk it down in these little increments. You can see it's a very controlled walk down, waterfall, sideways, lot of accumulation, waterfall, side. I mean, this was this had to be the previous ER. Again, just every single ER is a similar cliff dive. Even if the data results might be reasonably good or at least in line with expectations. I mean, last quarter they dropped guidance, I believe, from the 400 million range down to 250 to 300, which is, no Swiss picnic, obviously. But, this quarter they at least maintained the guidance and, there was an uptick in treatments. And it looks like the thing with these adoptions of these new treatments, particularly these new like genetic engineering and stuff, is it's slow. It's a lot slower than most people think to catch on. I mean, look at a stock like GMDA. I mean, they have a cure, but the whole time they're going bankrupt. I mean, it's not really okay. What you have, your special sauce on these stocks is extremely important, but even more important than that is how much money do you have in the bank? How much runway do you have? How are you going to get to cash flow positive? Because these ramps take a few years and they're extremely expensive. And all the while, IOVA is running more and more trials. They're burning more and more money. So Q2 was just looked really ugly for, burn rate. They're going through a strategic restructuring in Q3. This is all, starting now. They're reducing the workforce by 20%. And they're going to save $100 million per year, which is going to, according to management, allow them a runway through to, the end of 2026. Now, am I buying that? Absolutely not. I'm not if they tell you they have a 6-quarter runway, assume they have a 2-quarter runway before things get desperate. Now, how are they going to fund this turd until they can get to cash flow positive, which is going to be probably at least a couple of years? The way these books are looking. Books are looking like, schnooky after a long night of drinking. Are they going to issue debt? Who's going to want to buy that debt? Are they going to, it's really hard. That's one of the reasons they beat these stocks down, I think, in shorts is kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, is that it's not just that the share price is low and that, depresses and demoralizes and washes out, fat retail investors at the lows. It's also that it really cripples the company from raising money and doing business. I mean, I think that was a difficulty for SoFi. If you look at a stock like SMCI, I mean, they said in their earnings report, hey, we could not raise money. We could not fund existing orders. It was hamstringing our business, all this accounting, nonsense that was much ado about nothing, apparently. But with IOVA, the accounting concerns are very real. It's not any type of impropriety. It's just the math. Is the runway is not going to be what they say. It never is. I mean, UBX is telling us, hey, they got plenty of runway through the next 2 years. All of a sudden, months later, they're like, oh, we're looking for strategic alternatives. And when you hear the word strategic alternatives, just bend over and cover your nuts. Just take cover. The nearest foxhole, because you are going to get, absolutely haymaker uppercutted right in both huevos. Think about a Mike Tyson uppercut directly to the balls. That's what a strategic review, a strategic alternative. When these, Pudzenheimers, these one-eyed albino trouser snakes are looking for a strategic alternative, it basically means they spent all the money on, lavish executive pay, stock-based compensation, redecorating the corner offices, conferences, basically gross fiscal irresponsibility, because you have to know, the CFO, the CEO, you have to have a timeline and it has to make sense. I mean, you can't just say, okay, we have FDA approval, everything's great, because FDA approval does not equal cash flow positive. FDA approval does not equal net income. And they just, they're saying, okay, this is well tolerated. They raised the price of each infusion to $560,000. And people hear that, they're like, oh, $500,000 per patient. They treat 100 patients. It's a gravy train with biscuit wheels. We can't lose. I'm telling you, you can lose. They're saying, peak treatments in the US, they're looking at, $1 billion plus. And if they can get there, this company's going to be very, very profitable. There's no question about it. Another one of the main concerns they had, and this was from an article I read previously. I didn't have a chance to share it with you guys, but hopefully you guys are at least reading whatever. If you're invested in this company, I hope you're not. If you have any common sense, but suppose you are. Suppose you're a big dumb fat jerk like me, and you went ahead and bought this turd. Um, I still think there's a hell of a lot of potential in this company. I mean, you look at Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo just lowered their price target from 16 to 14. I mean, the other company that re-rated lowered from like 25 to 20. Now, I'm not saying that means a hill of beans, but some of these, it means something. I mean, these analysts don't necessarily want to be humiliated, and they're looking at, how you value these companies before there's any type of, net profit. They're still burning cash. A lot of times they look at, an FDA approval, they'll look at a certain multiple of it, the expected peak sales, and they'll sort of analyze how long they expect the peak sale, what other, drugs are coming along. And to that end, one of the big things they were scared of was this melanoma treatment from Replimune Group, REPL. And everybody was expecting this to get approved a couple of weeks ago. And what happened was, the new administration, they put in their own people into FDA, and they rejected, their drug for skin cancer, and that was the major competitor they saw on the horizon for IOVA. So that bodes well for them, and their patents are locked up. They have patent protection at least, I think, to 2038 or 2042, depending on, and that usually gets extended to some degree, particularly in these niche treatments. You're not gonna have a generic like aspirin company knock off this $500,000 T cell replication, blah blah blah. I don't even understand how this stuff works. I'm a big dumb animal, folks. The great Dan Kasich joins us. What's up? The great Oleg Alexander. Hello from Ireland. What's up, Oleg? Clap my dog. I don't know, clap my dog. I mean, it's really hard to say because either there's dilution or debt, which is basically kind of the same thing. I mean, it's two sides of the crappy coin. It's like two sides of stepping in dog poo. You step in with your right foot, then you get in your left foot. Nice, 9 a.m. in Scotland. Excellent. You're playing both sides. Perhaps you'd like me in honor of your Scottish heritage to do this entire show in a Sean Connery impression. Or perhaps you wouldn't. You definitely wouldn't. Yeah, so I bought more after this crash at $1.75, $1.76. I thought I was getting a great price, but my best advice on these things, the only reason I say that was a good place to buy is I see that base. You see that base. It's not about that treble, it's about that base. So if you look back at like a 3-month chart, I mean, it becomes very, very obvious. Is it going to go lower than that? I guess it could. But it seems like the powers that be are very, very happy to shake out retail at that level and, buy all the shares they can. And there was a lot of buying coming in up there toward, $4. So usually, and this is no hard and fast rule, and I don't claim there's any scientific basis behind it. There's no scientific base, hard and fast rules, data, thought process, logic, etc. behind really anything I say, or anything I think, or anything I do. But a lot of times, in my opinion, stocks tend to, go back to where the volume was. Like if you get a run up to 4 and it's a pump and dump, a lot of times you won't see this strong of an increase in volume of this very highest king, because this gapped up. So there's a ton of people, real buyers of the stock up here. It's too much volume to be fake. And yes, they could churn it, they could fix it. You could say they're drawing retail in, but there's not that much retail in the stock. I mean, this algo is working very, very hard, I think, to bring the price back down below $2 for whatever reason. I don't know why they want to own this thing so bad, or do they just want to? Sometimes they're just short of stock because the stock's a piece of shit, and it's going to go down, and it should go down because they don't have any money, and they're going to have to raise money in some very painful way. When your proctologist is also your loan shark, and you're running a public company, oh boy. Anyway. I don't know. People wanted me to talk about this thing, so I am, but obviously I don't really have much to say. Other than, yeah, it went down, it crashed. I still see a lot of positive signs, and I don't believe the price action. I look at this chart as just phony baloney. Up here from 10, where it was algo holding at 10, it just walked it down in increments, these waterfalls, algo hold below 2, pump and dump, walk it down in a channel. If you look at that last candle that goes from like $1.90 to 215, it's right in the channel. I mean, what are the chances? What are the chances? Of course, they're 100% because it's price fixing, you know. So it's a walk down, it's a talk down. You can talk it down from a ledge, you can walk it down for 4, to work it out, take it outside. But I don't know. I don't think there's anybody watching. This show's so bad. You guys want to talk about the short? Anybody care about this stock? Is anybody watching this thing? Oh, I hate my channel. Hate my life. Not really. My life's not that bad. Getting older and fatter. A lot of problems. So yeah, they shorted another 250,000 shares. They borrowed another 1,000,003. Cost to borrow. Now this is where things get interesting. Cost to borrow average 1.26, but cost to borrow max spikes to 6.57. Curious. I'm going to suspect that the shorts are a little bit upside down here. Yeah, I think I looked at this before. Days to cover 5.15. So you notice the short interest has been increasing, and then the shares on loan kind of fell off a cliff. So in the last 3 months, the short interest increased like 20 million, but the shares on loan only increased 6 million, 7 million. Cost to borrow, again, 0.92. I think that's going to prove to be false. I think utilization's a little bit higher than people think. Look at the institutional ownership, 77%. And then some of these cross over, but if you look at insiders, they own 21%. I'm going to guess that's probably some pharma companies, or there's some big insiders in the stock. If you take a look here, yeah, this is, one of the directors owns, 28 million shares. Another owns 5 million. Another, so these guys are owning a lot of shares. Guys, hold on one momento. I'm going to take a quick break, and then I got to just grab some water. I'll be right back. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see. Let's get me down the corner where I belong. It's Un Poco Moss, guys. It's an Insomniac edition. As you know, I could not sleep, so I threw this stupid show together. But maybe you folks could put me to sleep. No, I have not seen Happy Gilmore 2. I did really like Happy Gilmore 1, but yeah, I'm sure it is terrible. I mean, a lot of these sequels are. Like the Sandman doesn't have enough money. I think the guy made like $600 million for this. Anyway, so looking at the insider ownership, the institutional ownership, we have to go from the filings. We only have basically Q1. We don't have Q2 out yet. Very little of it, but Q1, Vanguard, BlackRock were both increasing their stake in the company. Whether that's going to hold up, I have my doubts. Vanguard, they owned, let's see, 25 million, and then BlackRock had 21 million. They're both increasing by like 10 and 11%. So very good sign coming in. Is this they're not short-term players. I think is this company a lot of basically what everybody's asking is, hey, is this company going to get bought out? Is this company going to get bought out? It's very difficult to say. I'll tell you this: there's no line of bidders, in a bidding war for this company. The revenues are not so staggering. There are plenty of patients to treat, but it's a matter of reaching that patient population. That's the whole that's the whole trick here. What percentage of those patients can you actually give this therapy to that someone's actually going to pay you for it at a reimbursement rate that is favorable to the company? I mean, they're saying, okay, 560,000 per treatment, but once you go international, there's going to be less reimbursement. And once you get into like VA and some different payers who pay a bit less, they're thinking like the blended average of all the payers would be like 350,000 per treatment, which is still, a lot. But you have to remember, you have incredible, huge costs to develop this that have to be recouped over a relatively limited number of patients, so this doesn't have the prevalence of like a breast cancer or something, but it's very deadly, the most deadly form of skin cancer, obviously. But anyway, 9 of you, bunch of losers. What's up, Katie Wentworth? How's it going? Katie's up early. I'm up late. We're up together. Isn't it exciting, Katie? Noto's definitely up this early, just pissing excellence, eating his Wheaties, possibly. No, I won't even say it. Let's see. So there's nobody here, nobody commenting. Does anybody want to hear about this stupid earnings report? So Iovance outlines 250 to 300 million 2025 revenue, restructuring aims to boost margin, expand Amtagvi. These drug names are always hard to say. Amtagvi. There's always like a bunch of sounds and syllables. I love that prescription strength Sanguelto. Peter Griffin. If you're out watching fireworks, a multiracial group of friends on a non-holiday. It's like, it's doing a pharmaceuticals commercial. I once had an affair, but I found after 6 weeks I was not able to bed the type of women that would make divorce worthwhile. It's like so stupid. Anyway, I highly recommend if you have time to watch prescription strength Sanguelto commercial on Family Guy, you go ahead and do that. But it just, pokes fun at all the side effects and all this other stuff. But anyway, sorry guys, I'm very tired. I should be asleep, but I can't for some reason. So I'm here talking to you folks, all 2 of you. Thank you for joining me, by the way. It's Un Poco Moss. So we're more than a year into the old Frederick vote. They're more into, a lot of people think this guy should go. I don't know, he's interim. The first FDA-approved TIL cell therapy adoption continues to grow. For the first time, we surpassed 100 patients treated in a single quarter. highlighted, showing a nearly 49% response rate and 41 patients and 23 treated in third line or earlier treatment settings, approximately 61% response rate, which is very, very high compared to anything else. Vote announced a strategic restructuring. This is what I was talking about earlier. 19% workforce reduction, generate 100 million. Net cash burn expected to be less than 245 million, excluding one-time chargeless 6 million. Associated with third quarter strategic restructuring. It's kind of ironic. Like, you have to take a charge for 6 million to save money. It's just an odd kind of phenomenon, but I get it. You know, you got to pay those people severance and all these things. So he reiterated guidance 250 million to 300 million, which is a lot lower than, you know, what they came into the year thinking they were going to do. But sales from Antevi, Proleukin globally noted, we continue to see strong demand for Amtagvi and the potential to achieve U.S. peak sales of $1 billion or more. I mean, it's very sort of such a vague thing. We can achieve peak sales of $1 billion or more. So what's the peak? Like, it's unlimited, or it's 2 billion, or it's 1.1 billion, or what the hell is it? So Chief Commercial Officer Touchdown Daniel G. Kirby reported product revenue from U.S. Amtagvi sales was approximately 54 million second quarter, representing growth 24% quarter on quarter, which is pretty solid for a rollout of this nature, at least from the ones that I've seen. A total of 102 commercial patients were treated, representing highest number of Amtagvi infusions for a single quarter to date. Kirby also described securing the first agreement with McKesson's Biologics Specialty Pharmacy to aid distribution. Chief Operating Officer Igor P. Belinsky. Let me just repeat that name for you. Chief Operating Officer Igor P. Belinsky explained the success rate in the second quarter rebounded compared to the first quarter with lower patient drop-offs and lower out-of-spec rates, and we continue to see improvement in the third quarter. Today, Chief Medical Officer Frederick Graf Finkenstein, and let me just repeat that name for you. Chief Medical Officer Frederick Graf Finkenstein, of course, first husband to a professional tennis player, former great Steffi Graf, who's now happily married to Andre Agassi, living in, I believe, Vegas, playing seniors events, frolicking around, just looking hot, doing what they do into their 50s, hopefully off the drugs. Anyway, it's a rebel. What are you going to do? I love Agassi. Anyway, the guy was such a badass, dude. That just taking that backhand so early. Just absolutely no respect for your serve. You could be bringing the serve in about 130. Andre don't care, dude. Andre's out there in some, like, surfer board shorts, just doing a ton of like, high out of his mind on crystal, and just taking that backhand right off his feet, and just slapping it down the line for a winner, while you're sitting there holding your pud. Love that line he said about Pete Sampras. He's like, I can't believe I just lost a major tournament to a guy who looks like he just swung out of a tree. Pete Sampras had the lowest hairline in the history of tennis. His hair and his eyebrows were really, really one. It was like a unihair. It was like a unibrow, but it was like your forehead just gets completely eaten up by your hairline and your eyebrows. This guy had some thick eyebrows, man. I love Pete Sampras, though. Guy's so smooth. Just so smooth. I mean, I've never seen somebody serve the ball 130 miles an hour and make it look so effortless. People are working much harder, but just the mechanics. This guy's a machine. Did kind of look like he swung out of a tree, but I don't hold that against him. I look like a big fat jerk. Yeah, Dan. Sure, Katie. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Yeah. So SMCI, I think, is really the most compelling value in AI. I mean, they're growing the top line at 50%, and margins are going to improve. Both are going to happen. It's absolutely. I mean, if you have I wouldn't throw money into these penny stocks, these little biotechs, unless it's just kind of, a pig in a poke. You have to understand you're kind of gambling on these, because a lot of it is the money raise, a lot of it is data, a lot of it, they have a solid pipeline of trials coming behind this. That's why they burn so much cash in Q2. I mean, they have a huge, they have a bunch of trials coming, like 5 or 6 trials. Success rate in the second quarter, first quarter, patient drop-offs, out-of-spec rates. So they got better at manufacturing, basically. Company reiterated again full year 2040 says confidence, continued growth. Of course they do. What else would they do? Projected revenue second quarter 60 or not total revenue was 60 million, 22% increase, 54 million, and Proleukin was 6 million. Gross margin excluding non-cash items was 31%. Our recent restructuring is expected to improve gross margins in near term through reduced cost of sales. Operating expenses 117 million, higher headcount clinical trial costs partially offset by the reduction in stock-based compensation. Current cash position is only 307 million with anticipated product revenue and cost savings expected to fund operations in the fourth quarter 2026. Okay, if you again, I don't believe that. I got a bridge to sell you. And then you go into the Q&A. You can read these for yourselves. I'm tired of talking. But they're talking about reducing expenses. They're talking about the restructuring. They're talking about the data. They're talking about EU. They're talking about specialty pharmacy, manufacturing. Basically problems they were having in Q1 in their manufacturing. Talking about how they're confident in activating treatment centers and that the continued growth and demand for the treatment. Analysts didn't seem impressed. I mean, at least not to me. I remember there was one question where he's like, "Can you tell us like how many patients, this and that?" He's like, "I'm not going to say anything," and the analyst was like, "Okay." I think they'd at least give some kind of canned answer about the trial or something. He's like, "I'm not going to say anything." It's like the equivalent of like, "Fuck you." It's like you don't want to tell you if an analyst's going to cover this turd. At least show them a little bit of respect. But quarter over quarter comparison, 50 million to 60 million. It's not earth shattering, but they increased, revenues 20%. They increased infusions 26% or so, 27%. Operating expenses rose from 43 to 170, primarily on headcount of trial costs, and we talked about that already. Gross margin improved from 10 to 31%, which is great. Management advanced strategic restructuring, we talked about that. Management guidance remained consistent. Q2 remarks were more assertive regarding the path to profitability and operational discipline. That's very, very important. They have this sort of aha moment where you realize, okay, we've accomplished our goal of getting FDA approval, but we haven't accomplished anything yet in terms of a public company or returning any money to our shareholders. In fact, we're burning scary amounts of money every single quarter, and profit is nowhere in sight. So we better get our shit together, run a tighter ship, tighten the belt, etc., etc., etc. No significant changes to so they're cutting these costs without having to change the pipeline or the trial structure or the amount of trials they're doing or anything like that. This is another thing that I think has been sort of misunderstood and overblown. They withdrew the EMA submission for, and that's the European Medical Agency. That's like their FDA, basically. I don't know if it works exactly the same, but it's similar. You submit and data and all this stuff. So due to feedback requiring an additional analysis, but this is key, plan to submit without running new clinical trials. So they have everything they need to get approval in the EU, just like they're getting approval in Canada and Britain and Australia, hopefully later this year, early next year. But, this EU pays reasonably well compared to the rest of the world. I mean, they don't pay what U.S. insurance companies pay. They're not insane. Anyway, so manufacturing risks, they're going to resubmit that, and I would guess they can get approved in the EU next year, but hopefully sooner. I mean, I think they want this treatment. It's just I think they made, honestly, an error, or they didn't understand fully the submission process, or perhaps it was a rug pull. I don't know. Manufacturing risks appear mitigated with improved success rates and normalized patient drop-offs versus prior quarter. No significant impact anticipated from tariffs or supply chain. Final takeaway. IOVA management emphasized continued commercial momentum of Amtagvi, the positive impact of strategic restructuring and gross margin cost efficiency, and reaffirmed 2025 revenue target of 250 million, 300 million. Operational improvements, robust demand, and the advancement of clinical pipeline position the company to pursue U.S. peak sales potentially of $1 billion for Amtagvi, whilst cost controls initiatives and new distribution strategies aim to further strengthen financial performance and market reach. Blah, 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 blah. How do you make money? How do you make money? It's Klaus in a coffee shop in Koh Samui. Isn't that the place in Meet the Parents where he was supposed to buy the Kosamui. So he was trying to meet the guy at the drugstore, like his travel agent. They thought it was like a CIA. What's up, Omad? Oh, I'm sorry, Ohad Masika. Ohad Masika. In Poco, we trust, man. I wouldn't trust me. This stock just went to shit. SMCI just fell off a cliff. I told you SMCI was going to fall on ER. I was saying it. People were like, what do you think's going to happen? I'm like, how many times am I going to tell you? It's going to fall. It just went way up. But don't worry. If you look at where SMCI is basing, it's absolutely fine at 45. As long as it doesn't go below 41, 42. It's going to go way back up. It's no way. That stock is trading just above last year's sales now. It's trading 20%, probably trading 30% below this year's sales as a market cap. You'd think they're losing a ton of money. They're making money. SMCI's margins are going to improve in the Blackwell rollout. They're not going to stay at 9%. Dell and HP wouldn't even be in business at 9%, all their legacy costs. They're still paying for those Pavilion PCs that buy out a Compaq. How'd that work out for you? Oh, we can't do without this line of Compaq laptops. Gotta buy that IP. Compaq has some valuable IP. You're gonna buy them right out. Fuckers, I'm telling you, they make all their money on that damn printer ink. Lock you into the printer. My brother bought a printer recently, and he put everything in, installed it, put the ink in and stuff, and they wouldn't let him. The printer was locked. It had some kind of software thing on it that locked it until you signed up for their ink delivery service, like Instant Ink or whatever. I don't know which one, but it's like you could not physically print unless you were signed up for their deal. It's like extortion. Everything you buy is these agreements now. It's like you can't do anything. You don't really own anything. You just own whatever agreement you clicked on, you agreed to. And you might not own shit. Probably don't even own your own testicles anymore. Probably Apple owns your testicles. Facebook owns your taint. YouTube owns the old twig. YouTube owns the twig. Apple owns the berries. Zuckerberg's right in the taint region. It's that whole area. Much like Dane Cook. Balls and the taint. Whole area. Anyway, guys. I don't know. Does anybody care about this stock? Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, Ohad, I mean, I was buying a bunch of Neo just down there at like 350, a little bit above that. I mean, I don't know. It's either going to go and it's going to be huge or it's probably going to go to zero. I mean, that's kind of the nature of the beast. I mean, hopefully they actually turn, net income positive here toward the end of the year, like they're saying they're going to be able to. They went on aggressive costs. They were just drunk with power, just spending all we're going to make Neo phone, Neo watch, Neo wine glass. We're going to put a refrigerator in every car. You know what? Start making a profit, then you can build a phone company. Yeah, silly little freak. I mean, I know the phone's supposed to, but they were doing all kinds of stuff. Neo pajamas. Come on. Let's focus on what we're doing here. Sell some cars. Let's sell some chips. Let's swap some batteries. Do like a battery swap show, like a wife swap. Like you're used to a Neo, but then all of a sudden you have like a Mercedes come in. It's like Mercedes is trying to make out with your wife. But your wife's never been with a foreign vehicle before, so she's a bit apprehensive. Take you upstairs and show you what it's like to be inside of a really big house. I highly recommend you guys hire Vic Vinegar with Honey and Vinegar Real Estate. Oh, Hugh was it? I believe it was Hugh Honey and Vic Vinegar. All right. Yeah, Katie, no, you're not joking. If I don't show up for one of these shows, I probably had a massive heart attack. Just laying on the floor. Like, I hope not, but God. Big fat guy getting older by the minute. I'm going to start a show about getting healthy. It's called Fat Guy, Dead or Healthy? I don't know. Anyway, guys, I guess that's it. This show has been terrible, but I do appreciate you watching. Appreciate you staying up with me. Again, this show was only made possible by the fact that I can never sleep. So my loss is your loss. And I know you're all dumber for having watched this. I might have to go watch Happy Gilmore too. I don't know if you can bootleg it. I don't think they have like all the movies online anymore, like Pirates Bay. Like I was in college and we were just bootlegging all the movies. I think now you have to like pay for it on Netflix or whatever. You can't even share your Netflix anymore. What's up with that? Like 8 people on my Netflix. No, no, no. You gotta pay for every person. If you only pay for, 8 people split your Netflix, like you're only paying $3 a piece. Well, yeah, I know. I don't want to pay for, costly goods and services on my own. Rather spread that expense around over a couple of buddies. Kicking me off, trying to get me buying my own membership. You don't believe my name is Ahavacia Ramos? How dare you? How dare you? Anyway, guys, sorry this show was no good, but what are you going to do? It's un poco más.